mysteriously they disappeared. Scholars knew them as Maya. They might have called themselves by many other names, which many are now lost. For some 15 centuries, they flourished in the grimly inhospitable reaches of Middle America. Around AD 250 and 900, they shaped a magnificent civilization of soaring pyramids and splendid palaces. This culture came to a sudden collapse. Their temples were abandoned, population reduced drastically, and jungle soon shrouded the mighty monuments. In Europe's dark ages, the Maya practiced an astronomy so precise that to the awe of the faithful, they could have predicted both solar and lunar eclipse. The Maya plotted the course of an elusive planet who we sometimes know as the evening and morning star Venus, just missing by 14 seconds per annum. This cultural group that flourished in this area we call Mesoamerica are said to have something of 3 other cultures that also flourish in the world. For example, the way they construct their temples, like the pyramids in Egypt, the way they plot the course of celestial bodies, like the Greek, and the way they build their roadways and causeways, like the Romans. I would like to welcome you to Cajalpech. No one knows the true name of a site. The site is normally given based on something that is found or occurs in the vicinity of the area. What happened in Belize, we have 2% Maya today in the entire country. In the north, we have the Maya Yucatec. In the south, we have the Maya Quechua. And in this part of the west, we have the Maya Mapan. They all speak their different dialects. They all still carry their traditional method of agriculture, and they all still carry out their lifestyle like they did many years ago. Now, when the archaeological work was being done in this area, they brought some of the Maya people to work with them, or the Maya workers. And the ones from the south, when they asked them, the area was infested with ticks, so they say, what would you call place of the ticks? They say, well, translating that in Maya of the Quechua, it means Cajalpech. Now, the Maya from the western part of the area, they have a different meaning because the dialect is different. So they ask them, what do you call this area? And what is the word Cajalpech? They say Cajalpech is not place of the ticks. Cajalpech to them means, Cajal means great one. Pech is the name of a Maya family. So we see that the Maya from the south, who translated to place of the ticks, it changes as we have the Maya from the west translated to great one of the Pech family. And we, as a tour guide, archaeological tour guide, definitely without any shadow of a doubt, I can see what is more melodramatic. We can call it great one of the Pech family that resided here, the last group who were stronghold of this site. Okay? So what do you think is better to mention it as?
The family.
The family. All right. What is unique about a site like this? I don't want you, if you leave from Mexico tomorrow, you might be saying, I was with Pedro in Belize, and all I saw was a bit of dirt, a couple of trees, a bit of reconstruction, but look at that beautiful site over there. Do you imagine, take yourselves back roughly to about, let us say, 100 AD, and we are walking in this area 100 AD, we have no trees, the entire area is all a platform, a plastered white floor. And you look over there, you look at the stairway being painted red, you look at the side of the buildings being painted red, you look at the white plastered wall, cream texture, and on top also red as well. Imagine that being sometime around 100 AD, that was the type of building we would have had. And looking at the distance, you'd be able to behold 13 doorways that are not visible today. But when we get closer, I'll give you a breakdown of how we can construct 13 doorways. But what is unique in Belize, as a country and the people, we have undertaken a bold concept in archaeology. Instead of totally reconstructing what we presume to be modern man interpretation of what we thought the temples were like, whenever we find an archaeological site, we do mapping, we do a bit of unearthing, and whatever we find, we consolidate. Only in certain events will we attempt to reconstruct a bit of it, okay? So what you're looking at here, immediately to your right, very beautiful. Use your imagination. Let us undertake the task of archaeological work in our mind. Remove the trees, see a platform on the floor, look at some doorways, look at a roof on top, and that is the building you have on your right. Over here now, mapping has led us to believe there was a stairway up the center. There was a platform with a building on top, a smaller structure with a stairway here, and on the other side likewise. But it is all covered today with vegetation. So it is left for future research. Okay? And that is what makes the site interesting. You're looking at it at its raw form. If we take ourselves back to be and play Indiana Jones in the jungle, it would be the same. We come here, maybe let us say you would have come here 62, 69. The entire area was a jungle. Nobody knows this was here. You would be trampling over this. You never knew there was a temple below your feet. Right now where we're standing on 7 levels of plastered floors to reach the height we are standing on. Okay? Over there, the building you can see is the oldest in this area. What happened over there, because of archaeological work, it was highly impossible to actually knew what was there. We saw a bit of the rubble, a bit of the structure, but we had to recreate. So what you're looking at there is what we consider modern man interpretation, because that building had to be constructed to give an illusion of something that would have been 600 BC. Okay? So what we're looking at, that when we dug there to the very bottom of that area, we went down 45 feet, and below there they found a total of 25 clay plates, a couple of vessels, and a few skeletal remains, not much parts of a human body, but skeletal remains. And also what was unique in that area, we found about 5 pieces of firewood. The firewood was radiocarbon dated, and that gave us a date of 1200 BC. So it is the oldest occupying area. So we go down, remember, 40 feet below this plaza is where the first occupation of the Maya at Cajapec was 1200 BC. The last archaeological work that was done in this area is where you see that trench across. You see what looks like just a digging there in the center? Okay, from that area to the center, imagine 5 months ago, you had some students out of the University of Austin, Texas. They were under there, see a blue tarp, and hear the voices that they are playing, laughing, and messing about. But they were there with an archaeologist, and they dug a trench straight across to the center there. It took them, that is 4 months of work right there, you're looking. They dug a trench 5 feet across by 5 feet down. And it was amazing what they found in that small area they dug. At the extreme entrance, they found 13 jade beads in a small clay pot. They moved a bit to the center. They found where the trees in the center are. They found the skeletal remains facing the same temple as it was that way, magnetic north or true north. And beside the skeletal remain, there were 9 clay vessels. The 9 clay vessels, they continued digging across, and they encountered a total of 18 jade beads, and at the extreme end, another 20. When we look at the mathematical breakdown of it, we know that this burial was very important, because the 13 jade that were found in the small vessel would have been the 13 levels to the heaven that they expected this individual to go as he descended down into hell. When he was taking 9 bases with him, they were the 9 levels of the underworld. He moved on, and we see that he had a calendar along with him in the form of jade beads. The 18 jade beads would have been the 18 months, and the 20 beads would have constituted the 20 days. That was their calendar. So we look at the full mathematical breakdown of that burial right there, and in a small area. A bit of wood was found. They burnt a bit, radiocarbon dated. A couple months after, we got the evidence that that would have been 600 BC. So we're looking at 5 feet below this area, the construction dated back to 600 BC compared to over there, which is 1200, 600 years earlier, okay? And that is unique about a site like this. We never stop finding out new evidence as we go along. So what is beautiful about this area, so it's the only site you'll be actually able to walk into a chamber. I've been to most of the archaeological sites in Belize, and normally we only consolidate the outer area, and you cannot actually go to a building. In the back chambers, we'll be entering a bedroom and a ceremonial bench. And it is the only site also that you'll be able to behold a small speck of plaster that still has a bit of red paint on it and how the wall was painted, okay? And that is what makes the site unique. What happened? Work was done preliminary at this temple. No evidence of what was found by a gentleman by the name of Lincoln Sackaway in the year 1950. He never recorded what he found. We don't know what came out of that temple here on the very top. After that, it was followed by an individual of Harvard University that took this temple across in 1959. The area remained dormant, no activity in the area until 1969 in the aftermath of looting at this very same chamber here. We had Peter Smith did a bit of consolidation and a bit of salvage operation at this chamber over here on the right. The entire area, nothing was done until 1973. We had an ambitious politician that wanted to get himself elected, and he subdivided the area nearby and he gave it out for house lots. That is why today the buildings are less than 1,000 feet away from the main center. So all the land that he gave away was actually part of the archaeological reserve of Kahapech. Today we'll be doing a small area of 4 acres of land, which is the epicenter of the site. The site remained dormant, and until late 1979 to 80, the municipality of San Ignacio wanted to bring tourism to this area, and they decided to get along with the archaeological department and do something about this site when it was under vegetation totally. They sent for one of our top archaeologists who was studying in the University of Trent in Canada, and a young gentleman by the name of Dr. Jaime Awe came across. He sat with them, they dialogued, and when he completed his course over there, he came over along with Joseph Ball, who was our archaeological commissioner at the time, and they started to unearth, reconstruct, and map a bit of what we'll be seeing today, okay? Let us go to the frontal area. I'll give you an idea of what Jaime is